So raising kids, I think it's an amazing opportunity, and a lot of people kind of get mixed up in terms of why people end up being good people in the future. They sort of think that maybe it's because that they didn't have opportunities when they were younger, that they didn't necessarily have money or anything like that, so that drove them to become, stronger human beings. Other people, recognize the fact that opportunities and having more wealth basically can allow you to do many more things. You get access to all these different opportunities, which is absolutely true. I think both of those are true to a lot of degree, right? Like, I think that having resources or not having resources, depending on who you are, really does matter. But here is the thing that I think we need to sort of point out. I said a little clause at the end, depending on who you are. And I strongly believe that us as human beings are a mix between sort of genetic code, but also strongly socialization, right? So we do have differences in personality and traits and things like that, but overlaying all of that is processes of socialization of what it really means to be a good person. And I think we need to sort of focus on that component, right? So if you grew up in a bad household that people were not necessarily treating you very well, you're going to have a really different perspective than if you grew up in a household that people just, loved you for who you are. Those are really different things, and it doesn't matter on how much wealth that you actually have. There's lots of families that are entirely abusive, and they have, pretty a lot of wealth, right? Like that you would consider them very wealthy. And it doesn't matter if you are in, a low-income family, and you have a loving family. That is a completely different situation in terms of how you view the world compared to if it's an abusive situation. And I think we need to really take a, stab at this. And this is the reason why people end up doing well. Now, it's not that if you have a good family and you try hard to, build your family and all that kind of stuff, that everything's going to work out. No, there's genetic code, right? Like, people are certain ways. And then we also have outside influences, right? Like, people are raised not just by families, for example, or, your teacher only has so much influence on what people actually do. They have other people and other things that are going on in their life. They watch TV shows, or, now it's YouTube shows, like all these kind of things. They all play into what happens to somebody. So if you can, control those factors and, mitigate all of the sort of negative components and negative influences. There goes, I'm driving right now, and my phone, or my backpack just flipped over, because I stopped at a stoplight. So if you can mitigate all of those influences and have them come together in a certain way, then everybody is going to be, that you're going to have a much better chance at life. Right? And I'm not just talking about like, hey, this person is going to be the CEO, or this person is going to be like the athlete of the year, or whatever it is. But like somebody that grows up in a well-adjusted home where, they make, moderate amounts of money. They have a nice sort of life, but they also, they have a nice life. And it doesn't matter how much money they have, or how little money they have, or how many resources or how many vacations that they have. You just have a nice life, and you feel okay with yourself. I think that we need to really stress these components of, family situation, and then once you sort of think about this, one thing that's really important is thinking about your family is like your family, right? Like your couple core groups of your immediate family, that is your shield against the rest of the world. The rest of the world is not nice to you often. People are not nice to you because that they are broken people, right? Like hurt people hurt other people. That's honestly what it is. So having that sort of shield around you to protect you against the world, I think is extremely important. And sort of really deciding on the values that you are going to pass on to your kids. And it's a decision. I think that is the difference between, in my view, that's a real distinct difference between like old world versus new world, right? Like my parents are very old world. They grew up in a very different time. But, you know, what you realize as you get a little bit more education is you have a choice in what values you choose and what you're going to do. And you can actively, you don't have to be one way or the other, right? Like you could just say, hey, wait a minute, I don't believe in those values that somebody is saying or touting over there. That's nonsense. I can have many of these things that people are saying, many of these different values, no matter whether it's right or, you know, from the right or from the left, or whether it is, you know, based on some religious leaders or whatever, right? Like you could say, hey, wait a minute, that doesn't seem right to me. I don't have to abide by those certain values. And we're going to sort of work on what actually makes the best thing for our home. And I think that's the real distinction between sort of old world and new world, is that you realize, like, wait a minute, like all of that crap is just made up that's coming out of somebody else's mouth, so I don't have to comply with all of that. Some of it's good, some of it's not. So, like, what I'm getting at is you know, I grew up in a deeply religious family, and everything that you know, the priest said was basically gospel. And you know, I've realized that, like, wait a minute, they were making all that crap up, right? And I can pick and choose. Some of it is actually really good stuff, right? Like you know, teaching people about, you know, basically each one teach one, which is what, you know, Jesus said, or in so many words, right? Like not quite, but you know, those are really good values, and I could pick and choose those things, or we could talk about those. And we don't necessarily, also, that's the other thing that we sort of get mixed up on. We don't have to talk about them openly, although that is good. Like, we don't have to talk about all these values and what we just have to be good people to other people, right? Like, we have to, like, work on things like, wait a minute, I'm angry right now. Wait a minute, I need to work on that. I need to go find something to deal with this anger. Or, you know, I'm frustrated right now. I need to deal with this. Like, all those kind of things. And you know, really dealing with all of those emotions, I think is the sort of trick to it. So coming back to this idea, right? Like, people don't necessarily need all of the stuff, and they don't necessarily need to have, you know, few things, right, to actually get to a good place where they're well-adjusted humans, right? Like, they're doing well as adults. They just need to know that no matter where they are, that they're loved. And I think that is the key thing. That's the key lesson, is that we need to focus on that. Not the sense that, like, you're all clingy and all that kind of stuff, right? I mean, that's, families have bickering fights and all that kind of stuff. That's part of being human, but realizing, keep coming back to the unit is stable. We're stable. You know, we've got certain things. We need to sort of chill this part down a little bit. We need to sort of promote some things a little bit more over here, to make this more stable. But the more that we make this core unit, right? And even if your family unit right now, if you're listening to this, it's just you, right? That's fine too, right? Like there is families out there that just have one person, and that is totally fine. It's where you just have to work on you need to think about how you can keep your core good and well adjusted and happy, and not happy in the sense like, I'm happy every day, because that's not life, right? But like adjusted, right? That you realize that, hey, if I just keep working at this, I know it sucks right now, but if I keep working at this, I can actually get to someplace. Like, if you have that, all the rest of it doesn't matter, right? Like, and it's a sweet thing, right? If you do get opportunities and you have a well-adjusted family and you get all that kind of stuff, yes, it is probably going to make some sort of difference, right? But on the other hand, if you get restricted all these opportunities and you see how hard it is to sort of struggle at things, yes, learning that sort of grit, that's going to matter too. But what matters is that we, work together as a family unit, where we really work at all of this and be well adjusted. I think that is the important part of it, is to realize that all of the sort of external resources and all that kind of stuff, that's external resources. That doesn't matter. I mean, it matters, but it doesn't matter to the extent of like, wait a minute, we need to work on what's going on inside, what's going on in our noggin. If we can get that noggin working, if we can get the family unit working, it doesn't matter where you live or what you do. You can live in a tent and you're totally fine, right? You need to sort of have that perspective. And it's super hard for everybody. And here's another dimension that is hard. It's not you that has to often do this, right? It is a group of people, right? So this is a struggle that me and my wife sort of have, right? Like, we're a team, but at the same time we have different perspectives on all of this, right? Like, she would not have this sort of conversation. That's just not my wife. Like, we have completely different kind of conversations about this kind of stuff. Or different viewpoints on this, and then that's okay too. That's where you have to, and that's hard for me to say, right? Like, right now I'm like, I wish everybody would have my sort of view, but that's not reality, and I have to figure out a way to work through that a little bit more. I live in a little bit of a different perspective, and I have to work through that. And we do. We try to work at it. Sometimes I'm annoyed with my wife. Often she's annoyed with me. But then we try to work through these things, because we are a team. We're a family unit to get through some of these kind of things. So that's where we need to sort of think about this stuff, right? Is we need to work on what it is to be a team, to sort of have this view where it's me against the world, and I'm stable inside, and my family unit is stable inside, and it doesn't matter what opportunities we have. If you don't get the opportunity to go skiing in the winter, well, then damn well make a ski track in your backyard, make some slides, or if you live where it snows, I don't right now, go sliding every day and have that experience with them, which is the same thing, the same sort of experience as skiing. If you don't live in a place where there's no snow, well, then go get go build a wagon, or go get a wagon someplace, and then, push your kids down the hill, right? Like, have those experiences are important, and realize you don't need a lot of stuff. I mean, we could lose everything at this moment and we would be okay. Not in the sense that it's not going to suck, but we would be okay. And we need to realize that. Whatever you have, it's all icing on the cake. What matters is the fact that you are a team, where you are us against the world. And us is we're always trying to improve and sharpen and, really work on who we are as people, and work towards that sort of ultimate goal of just being better versions of who we are, being more well-adjusted. So hopefully you got something from this, all right? Because I don't think, there is a secret to what happens in somebody's life, but, well, actually there is a secret. The secret is life. The secret is being able to deal with the punches of the world that get to you and get up and get going and not stopping when that happens. All right, take care and have a wonderful day. Bye.